All right, everyone, welcome. We're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for spending your Monday evening at the Flying Flamingo's launch for integrated leadership. We are thrilled to have so many people interested in supporting leaders become their best selves and really have the support to unlock the impact they want in the industries and in the societies they serve. We have a packed agenda for you tonight, but first, we're just going to play a very quick video.
Leadership is not only about one leader.
Conscious leaders, responsible leaders. Looking within ourselves, identifying our strengths.
Bring the different needed traits together.
More empathy, more heart, more collaboration.
Integrated leadership is an expansion of your full range of capacities.
Leadership is not only about one leader.
Conscious leaders, responsible leaders. Looking within ourselves, identifying our strengths.
Bring the different needed traits together.
More empathy, more heart, more collaboration.
Integrated leadership is an expansion of your full range of capacities.
We as leaders need to rise and reimagine ourselves so that we can build an integrated world.
For those of you who are new to the Unlocking Eve community, welcome, welcome. And for those of you who have been with us since the very beginning, back in 2022, when we launched Unlocking Eve, some of you might have thought that this is just an initiative or a passion project. But Ava and I, my co-founder, have this unwavering belief that with this disintegration that is happening in the world right now, the only thing, or one of the things that can really heal the world are integrated leaders. So tonight, we are going to double down on investing on these leaders because we need them.
So the fellowship program that is being launched today is exactly for that. We all know, and we've participated in wonderful fellowships. I know many of you here are fellows of fellowships that exist. But what happens when the fellowship is finished? What happens when the impact that the fellow has made now needs double the investment, that needs double the network, that needs double the community to move them forward? We're looking for 50 leaders over the 5-year period, and you'll be helping us launch the cohort of the first 10 today. And we're looking for leaders who really need that help to move to the next level of impact. Our ambition, together with a community of friends here and outside of this room, is that those 50 leaders we would help them and turbocharge them to impact 100 million people by 2030. And so Andre Hoffman and his wonderful wife, Rosalie, and the community of intent have been gracious enough to give us this opportunity again in the tent to really launch this work. And when he wrote his book, The New Nature of Business, I said, I'm not going to let you sign the book until I read it. And so I read the book and I said, okay, now you can sign it. And he said, what do you want me to put in there? And I said, I don't know. I mean, just whatever you feel. And he put in there, in friendship with a community of ideas. In friendship with a community of ideas. That's what it's about. And if you look at the speakers we have tonight, and if we could pull that up, these are the people that have been co-creating this idea, some of them with us, and some of them are already unlocking leadership. And so yeah, we just wanted to really emphasize that this is in friendship with a community of ideas, and we're very thankful to the advisors here on the slide or the speakers who are already doing amazing work in leadership, and we hope to work together to move this forward. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Ida Christensen, who is the head of the Young Global Leaders. The Young Global Leaders, for those of you who don't know, is a wonderful community that is supporting leaders who are doing amazing things. And Ida specifically, has taken over, I'm not sure, I think I'm going to quote her wrong, but when, I think it was the year me and Thomas started, she kind of took over the community, and she made leadership her priority on her agenda. And she's been pulling that through with wonderful work she's doing. So we're very grateful, Ida, that you came here to speak to us today, because there's no one better that knows how to support young global leaders than you and the foundation you lead. So welcome.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ida Jane Christensen, head of the Forum of Young Global Leaders and director of the YGL Foundation. This was me 10 years ago. I'm really, really excited to be here today. I really want to extend my sincere appreciation to the entire team behind Unlocking Eve, and thank you so much, Eva, also for being such a role model of integrated leadership. So why am I here? I'm here because I serve a community of 1,400 purpose-driven leaders. So that encompasses our young global leaders in different countries and also alumni. So maybe just, if you happen to be part of this network, I do see some familiar faces, maybe please just raise your hand. Don't be shy, we know you. We see you? Okay, great. The platform that I lead is very much focused on the future of leadership and responsible leadership. And I know many of you are taking part in various discussions in Davos and at the annual meeting. I've just come from Congress all day where I've been with young global leaders, and I think it's fair to say that we are faced with a very uncertain outlook when it comes to many of the global challenges that the world is faced with, and perhaps also even more so. Many of you will probably have read also or seen the highlights of the Global Risk Report, which also points to misinformation, disinformation, polarization, extreme weather events, etc., as some of the global challenges that we're faced with. So in light of that, we are really very much focused on what type of leadership requirements are needed in the future. The theme of the annual meeting this year is a spirit of dialogue, and this is also exactly what we want to do with this focus on leadership. Start a conversation, a global conversation on the leadership approaches needed to tackle some of the challenges that we're faced with, and also see if there might be new models and new approaches. So we've launched a series of initiatives. One of those initiatives is a Global Future Council on leadership that was launched last year, which is brilliantly chaired by Thomas, who is here, who will also be speaking, and Judy, who's not here today. And also I really want to thank Eva, who's also contributing great insights also to that council. We'll be publishing as well insights in the coming months and the coming years. So if it's a space you're interested in, don't hesitate to come up. I'll also be here during the break. Always happy to see how we can collaborate and look at leadership from different angles, whether it be AI, integrated leadership, regenerative leadership, or new leadership approaches that have yet to be unlocked. We offer university modules in different parts of the world, but I think the most important thing I want to say tonight is that if you do come across some young global leaders who are role modeling new ways of tackling global challenges or have identified new solutions, they're saying, let's not do what we've done in the past, let's try to do it in a different way. You're very welcome also to share those ideas. We're always collecting those types of stories and also expanding the network of those who are interested in this agenda. So with this, I will just leave a little bit of a cliffhanger. We did publish a new report that I mentioned, which was published by the Global Future Council on Leadership. And that report points to some shifts that we recommend in the future. I'll just leave it hanging there because Thomas will share exactly what those shifts are. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ida, and I'm glad you're staying for a break because I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in the report and the work that you do. So, colleagues, we will be serving food tonight. We will be feeding you, so know that it will be an evening of discussion and dialogue, food and joy. But now I'd like to invite Max up to the front here. Max is a co-founder and chief creative officer at Artolution. Max, where are you? Oh, there you are. And he's going to be speaking a little bit later on, but for now, I would love to invite him because he's going to introduce what we're going to be co-creating tonight together. So Max, over to you.
Good evening, everybody. How are you all doing? How are you all doing? Come on, let's hear some real energy. I love it. My name is Dr. Max Frieder. I'm the co-founder and chief creative officer of Artolution, and I'm a public artist, an educator, and we train artists and educators in different refugee camps and war zones around the world how to work with children and families doing mental health, education, and different types of leadership programs, which I'm going to talk more about later on. However, this evening, we are all going to participate in a collaborative artwork, and I want every single person who's here to participate. And so what we're going to do is you'll see on the tables, there's a ton of super colorful paper. And you should see that I also brought some really beautiful professional markers. And what we're going to be doing is everybody here should make at least one drawing. And everyone's like, I can't make art, I'm not an artist. The idea is to come up with a symbol that represents what integrated leadership means for the future. So how would you show it? How would you feel it? What does it smell like, taste like, feel like? And if you could be able to make at least one drawing, and then what you'll see is that there's scissors scattered throughout the tables, and then if you could then cut out whatever you drew, and then we are then going to glue them onto a giant canvas in the back, and we're going to make a gigantic flying flamingo that's going to have the hands of every person that's in this room put together. So even if you're here only for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, make a drawing really quick, and even if you don't have time to cut it out, just drop it off in the back. If you're feeling really, well, I got a lot of guts and you're really ready for the creativity, then you can go and you can glue it in the back as well. You'll see that we have glue sticks as well as we have glue that you can spread. So I hope that every person here can put a little bit of thought, look at the poetics, the narratives, the beauty of the impact that every person in this room has inside of them, and the impact that's going to be created for the 100 million people that are going to be impacted for the future of this fellowship. So if anyone has any questions, come and let me know. Oh, and also we have a whole bunch of awesome stickers that are here of all the kids in the communities and all the leaders that we work with in different conflict-affected communities. Please feel free to take some and put them on your water bottles or laptops, which I thought you'd appreciate. So thank you so much, and super excited for the co-creativity to come. All right, I'll pass it back over to you.
Thank you, Max. And so for the next 10 minutes, we're actually going to have a break, a networking break. So this is an opportunity for us to connect with everyone that's here, and also food's going to come. Thank you.
See you in 10 minutes. fellowship. Yeah, perfect. Do we not, or do we just take a picture after with everyone?
They're all here.
Yeah. It would be great to move this table a little bit. Yeah, should we try that? Well, what did we do? Well, it would be great to move it just like there.
We'll bring us back a little.
And then we gotta start. He's gonna move this table. Yeah. Oh, you should have been there for the beginning. It was exactly. We have to show you. From zero to hero. We said we were like, he's like, no, he's doing Jenny. We're like, oh my God. I'm gonna say that. Just a piece like that. Can I ask you a question? Give me one with you. Just a little bit further to the end.
Thank you for taking such grace. Yes. Yeah, well done.
Hi, everyone. Okay, let's come back to our program. Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Be louder.
Can you hear me? A little bit. Okay, hi. We're going to get started with our panel of speakers and experts. So,
all right, everyone. I love the energy in the room. I think it is, yes, thank you for the help. You could use this. Just tap it.
So, as we know, academic institutions and universities are vital to shaping our leaders of today and tomorrow. So this is why we've convened this panel of experts and advisors. And we're going to have a fire starter session with our panels. First, I would want to welcome Dr. Jamila Mahmood. Woo! She is the Executive Director of the Sunway Center for Planetary Health in the Sunway University in Malaysia, and she's a member of the Board of Directors of Roche. Welcome. The next, Gail Whiteman. Woo! Founding Executive Director of the Climate Base Camp and a Hoffman Impact Professor at the University of Exeter. Woo!
And now my pleasure to introduce Thomas Roulet, professor at the University of Cambridge Judge Business School, also the co-chair of the Global Future Council on Leadership, and many other wonderful things that he does for well-being in the workplace. Thanks for being with us, Thomas.
You're going to have to come sit here.
Oh, sorry. I took the wrong chair. Apologies. That's not very integrated.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're going to have, this is a fire speed panel, our guests, because we want to be able to continue the conversation after, but also our curated art experience. And food is coming also. So we have 2 questions, and the first one, and 5 minutes each for you. Why do we need this fellowship, this type of fellowship, and why now? Jamila?
Microphones would help.
Thank you very much, Kay. First of all, just to set some context, Kay, all of us, in fact, were at Arles in France, and I insisted that I wanted to see flamingos. I really thought they would be bright pink, as in the photograph. So we drove for a long time, right, until we found flamingos, and we sat at the edge of the water, or stood at the edge of the water. We saw the flamingos flying in a certain formation, and I think that's how the flying flamingos was inspired. And I was saying, how the leadership qualities of flamingos when they form, and how they support each other. So I think that for me, as someone coming from the global south, who by training I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist, so I got along and doing all the stuff I did, from being a doctor to a humanitarian leader and later a global leader in the UN and now in the corporate sector and university, because I knew 3 words very well as an obstetrician. It was push, 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 right? I was just get on with it, right? And then, I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to be given a scholarship to go to IMD on a leadership program, because not many doctors actually get management training. And I think that changed my entire life, because I had the opportunity to engage with people not like me. And I saw that, in all the jobs that I did, and I worked globally in every, known conflict, disaster, and political crisis, that you have to have a wide range of experience for you to actually navigate the complexity that we live in today. And I think for the Flying Flamingos, most of the time when you get scholarships and fellowships, it's quite academic. You look for the top PhD scholars and the bright sparks, but actually leaders can be grassroots leaders as well. They can be people who've not been given that opportunity, or entrepreneurs who are willing to try and venture into something new. So I hope with the Flying Flamingos Fellowship, it'll be different. You will have a really nice mix, but also to be able to be immersed in different experiences, whether it's through, skills training, or even to engage in, to put a scientist into an arts field, for example, or an arts person into a scientific field or business field. So I think it's really important, if you want to have the integrated, holistic leadership, that take the individual, don't look at his or her qualifications, but give an opportunity for cross-learning across cultures as well.
Thank you, Jamila. Gail.
Is the mic on? Hello, Davos 2026. Woo! Hello, hello, hello in the room. I know that we're excited, and I know that we're probably hungry. Shh, 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 shh. And I know that we've got a lot of people to meet and to talk about. But what I want to tell you right now is that what Kay and Eva are doing with the Flying Flamingos Fellowship is well worth a listen. Right? Well worth a listen. So if we can grab your attention for maybe 15 minutes, you go back to networking, you go back to another cocktail, and you go back to another cup of soup or whatever you're having. Shh. If you can't manage that, There's lots of people outside. That's all I can say. It's not about me. It's about Kay, Eva, Jamila, and Thomas. But what I do want to say as a professor and also someone that works a lot with Hollywood is that it's hard to grab your attention, right? It is, and for all good reasons. All good reasons. But what is absolutely important is that education and science-based education has got to drive leadership. And I think what Kay and Eva are doing with the Flying Flamingos Fellowship is actually to bring those things together, okay, powered by the engine of intent and the Hoffman Family Foundation. But I think it's really important that we know that leadership has to change, it's got to grow, it's got to accelerate, and it's got to collaborate. And if they don't do it, we know that all the universities around the world, which all three of us belong to, we haven't done sufficient. So all I want to say is that it's exciting. I think we need your help to make it a win. And I just wanted to congratulate Kay and Eva to actually put together something in a space that's super crowded. Universities around the world have all kinds of fellowships. The World Economic Forum has a wonderful fellowship program, but there's gaps that are missing, and I think they've kind of unlocked the recipe. So I want to congratulate them and just say I'm really happy in any way to be involved, even if it's like the traffic guard to make everybody listen for a second. So thank you. Thank you, Gail. Thomas.
Thank you so much. So maybe let me ask you a question, because you have heard that we have a report coming out. So if you just Google Next Generation Leadership World Economic Forum, you can click and download it. We get 1 Swiss franc each time you click on it. So maybe let me ask you one question. We polled a range of leaders from across the board, politics, corporate leaders, charity leaders, for the YGL community. What do you think are the key leadership skills that people mention as crucial for the future? Maybe just a couple of options.
Courage.
Courage. Empathy, yeah, comes up pretty high. System thinking, that's too complicated for most leaders. But yes, good try. Which one? Quantum leadership, that's also pretty advanced. Okay, something more simple? Ambiguity holding. Oh my God, we're getting more and more theoretical. We are university professors. We don't, need to give you a theory course because you're going to be bored to death. So number one is moral compass. The ethicality of being a leader. Obviously, one challenge is that it's quite subjective, and many of the leaders we see today and that we're going to see during the week do think that they are morally right. So this is quite a challenge. But the question of moral compass is one that comes up, which, the fellowship will be able to address. And the second one is creating trust and empathy. So I think it's a great initiative because you really tackle 2 pain points that we identify in the work of the Global Future Council on Leadership. Is first the question of diversity and cultivating leaders. And to do that, you need accelerators like this one. You need to really bring people, up to speed, and you need to select diverse cohorts, and really kind of develop their skills. So that's the diversity element, and then the training and development element, because skill sets are changing really quickly. So I tell my MBA students, I teach leadership, they think, no, we want to hear about AI, and I tell them actually the data and the research tells us that wage and employment is correlated with your soft skills. Obviously, you need to know about AI, but it's, complementary with soft skills. So we need training and we need fellowships to help people continue to update their technical skills, but also develop a range of soft skills. And build from the power of being with people from other backgrounds. And so that's an important thing that you also promote in your work, the power of two, so you are a great duo. But it's important to create synergies and complementarity with other people. And so the role of those fellowships is to bring people from diverse horizons to really learn from each other and to kind of help each other with their blind spots.
Well said. What an energy on the panel. What an energy in the room. Sometimes you think you are bringing a community together, and but what I feel in this room is more than a community. I feel almost like, you know, the Boston Marathon, when everybody's waiting behind the line and there's so much latent energy that is just waiting to be unleashed. That's what I really feel in this room. So again, big thank you to these wonderful, wonderful human beings here and all of you who are here. Last fire starter question for us to close off this segment. And the question is, the world is polarized and disintegrated. I think those of us who have been lucky enough to roam around this Davos world for years, it's been a theme for years. The question is, what do we do about it? So the world is polarized and disintegrated. I think we all agree. Where is trust and collaboration most fragile today? Where is trust and collaboration most fragile? And then one word of hope for today's leaders. Final words.
Okay, so I'm French, so I'm naturally pessimistic. So it's very hard exercise for me. Where is hope? I'm tempted to say nowhere, but I cannot say that. The hope is in Flying Flamingo. No, I think the hope is in those sorts of communities where people meet others, they meet people from other backgrounds, try to understand what perspective they are taking on the world and on those social problems. And I think that's something that Davos does really well, and the West does really well, is bringing those diverse horizons, those diverse perspectives all together, and to really force us to try to understand how people come with a different diagnosis on the same issue, and why do they do so, and how can we converge towards solution despite those disagreements, even when they are deeply ideological.
And where is trust and collaboration most fragile today?
I think it's fragile pretty much everywhere. It's fragile in the private sector, it's fragile in the university sector. So I think that's what calls for those cross-sector collaboration and cross-sector discussions, so that trust can be built across sectors and not only within sector. We tend to, university professors, we're particularly guilty of that. We tend to talk only with our peers, and that's a mistake, because if you do that, you really don't get a sense of what are the core problems that we need to tackle or we need to help tackle.
So question, first of all, where is trust most fractured? Now, I know I sound American, but I'm actually the good guys. I'm Canadian, so round out for woohoo! But I work extensively with the U.S. on both sides and all kinds, and I'd have to say that trust is the most fractured, not just in geopolitics, it's actually on social media. That is where trust is the most fractured. So we think we are really so much farther separate than we actually are, because when I go around and I talk to people, what I can see is that we're actually really together. And there's two things that give me hope. And one is just basic humanity and love. That gives me hope. You walk around to any neighborhood in almost any country of the world, and you can talk to people on a real level, whether I talk to them as a mother, I talk to them as a teacher, I talk to them as a citizen or a tourist or just a friendly face. And I think the other thing that really gives me hope is nature itself. Nature never gives up, no matter what the challenge is. It will always regrow. It will always pick up. So even though when I think, oh my God, the game is over, in the areas in which I work, I know that outside there is a tree somewhere growing, and that is life, and that's what gives me hope.
The best thing about speaking last is they've all said the good stuff, and we agree. I want to give it a very personal perspective. I think trust can be fragile where you want it to be, because I think that if you want trust to be built where you want it to be, it's the same, right? That you want to create distrust. So it's very easy to be swept in this wave of mistrust because of what we're reading, what we're hearing, which is sometimes very distant from us, right? But like nature is also love, it's also family, it's also friendship. Today I reconnected with Dermot, who I have not met for 18 years. We went to IMD together. But I'm going to ask you all to look at your screen saver and what photograph is on it. I can bet for those who care enough to load a screensaver, it's either someone you love or something you've seen that is so beautiful, that is in nature. And I tell people, if you want to rebuild trust, start from there. even if you speak to someone you've never known before, if you have nothing to say, you can say, can we see what's on our screensaver? And that itself can begin a conversation that is actually embodied in love.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. What a wonderful session of hearing from our advisors and our experts here today. And just to wrap us up, integrated leadership is a combination of those that you've shouted earlier, but the power of it is within us. It's this innate capacities that need to be unlocked. And when you do that with one another and beyond. That's where the power lies.
Thank you so much. So we have a next speaker who's going to do a wonderful keynote, so you do not want to miss it. But I do also want to make sure you grab a refreshment if you need to. So 60 seconds to grab a refreshment, and then we're back here for our final keynote. Please, 60 seconds, grab a refreshment if you need, and we're back.
Same style.
And my cat. My cat too.
So we're ready, right? All right, all right. All right. Thank you so much. All right, now for our final, I'm just going to be a little bit louder. Can you tell me? Yep, for our final contributor to this evening, I'd just like to get everyone's attention. It was dangerous. It was dangerous to allow you to take a beverage. It was very dangerous to do that. But I'm going to need you all to... All right, everyone, we're getting to the next section. Yes. Woo! Shh. All right. All right, for our last speaker, I really wanted to honor the moment here today. So Max, who introduced himself earlier, who needs no introduction if you've seen his artwork, he's going to talk about the work he does. And the reason why we invited Max, I'm going to have to... Shh. Gail, you're so good. I'm going to have to borrow your skill set. The reason we invited Max tonight wasn't just so he can help us co-create an art piece. The reason we invited Max tonight because he's an example of the type of leader this fellowship is built for. He has been helping leaders all around the world doing impossible things, co-creating impact together for millions around the world. Max, you have many stories you can share with us. I wish we had a fireside, an actual fire, a bonfire where we can listen to all of them. But tonight, you'll share one or two with us to inspire us for what this fellowship can really become. And then you'll help us create the first inaugural piece to mark this day. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Well, good evening, everybody. All these co-creative, co-artists, all making art, and I hope everybody can be drawing while I'm talking. You're very welcome. And thank you for those beautifully warm and profound words. It means more to me than I could ever say. So for those who weren't here, my name is Dr. Max Frieder, and I am the co-founder and chief creative officer of Artolution. This crazy word, Artolution. We are an international, community-based public arts, education, and mental health organization. So we train artists, educators, and leaders in refugee camps, war zones, and conflict-affected communities around the world how to be able to lead collaborative public arts programming, all focused on being able to amplify the stories of communities all across the globe. We have teams in each continent across the world. And so just to give a quick geography, we have teams on the border of Syria, in the Syrian refugee camps in Jordan, Lebanon, and Turkey, on the border of Myanmar, in the Rohingya refugee camps, with a single refugee camp that has 1.2 million people living in a single camp, and in the active civil war zone in Rakhine State in Myanmar. We have a big team inside of Ukraine, working with internally displaced communities, on the border of South Sudan, in Uganda, and the border of DRC Congo, in Juba, inside of South Sudan, as well as in Kenya, and on the border of Venezuela, in Colombia, as well as in New York and in DC. So I think the most important thing I could ever do is to showcase some of the leaders that we've been able to work with individual stories that I think are the most important thing that we could ever have, especially for the people who don't get to be in this room. Right, the people who don't get to come to Davos, the people who can't even leave a locked refugee camp. How do we do justice for these voices? How do we amplify the brilliance that exists across every culture in the world? And how do we do it in a way that humanizes, that's filled with dignity and joy? So I wanted to share two quick stories, if I can. I'll try to keep them very quick. And one of the stories is about this extraordinary woman whose name is Dildar Begum. And this woman changed my life. And I met her in the Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh. She fled her village in Butidong, which is a small village in southern Myanmar. And when she fled, she lost everything. Her whole village was burned. Most of her family were all killed. She experienced all kinds of torture and horrific trauma. And when she fled, she actually brought her special needs brother, her sister, and her grandmother to be able to cross over the border. And they would dig holes in the ground during the daytime, and at nighttime they would run. And they did this for 2 weeks to get across over the mountains into the Naf River, where they hand-wove a raft to be able to float across the river. And when they got to the refugee camp, they were trapped for 3 days where they couldn't get in without food and water. And when they got in, she actually had shock-based mutism. She didn't speak for 9 months because of the trauma that she went through. She came to one of the programs we did with actually UNFPA, whose logo is right there, working with women who'd been through violence. And she came and she painted. And the first mark she made, she spoke for the first time in 9 months. And the first words that she said is, "I forgot what it felt like to be alive. I forgot what it felt like to feel emotions. And I forgot what it felt like to be human. And that by being able to paint, it makes me realize that I have the right to have a dream. And I didn't know that I had the right to have a dream. And now that I know this feeling, nobody can take that feeling away from me. And I need to share that with my own community. I need to share that with my own community right now. This is the greatest responsibility that I have to those who've been through the same silence and the same experiences that I've been through." And she said, "I need to figure out how to work with you. I want to figure out how to lead teams, how to become a leader." And I remember looking at Dildar with this amazing hope in her eyes. And she said, "How could I be able to bring this leadership to my own community?" And we started to work with her. And over the last 6 years, she has become our lead teaching artist trainer and our leader of our team of over 30 teaching artists, half women, half men, leading programs year-round for over 10,000 kids and teenagers. And that she is now a leader who's become a trainer of trainers, right? Where she's able to teach others how to teach. And to see this woman come out of her shell, like I wish she could be standing right here with me. And I was just with her when I was in Bangladesh. And I said, Dildar, if I'm going to a place called Davos, giving this talk to all these people, what do I say? How do I do justice for your story? And she said something so interesting to me. She said 3 things. Number 1, make sure that we're not forgotten. Make sure that people know that we exist. Number 2, and I think it's so fascinating, she said, I make sure all the refugees in the world aren't forgotten. Not just me, but all people who've been displaced. And 3, will I have a job a year from now? Will I be able to have a baby and be able to provide for my family? And she said, if I can do that, then I can rebuild my culture. I can rebuild my community. And that by doing this, I become a beacon of hope. I become a light amidst the darkness. And if we look at the unbelievable challenges the world is facing today, I imagine that really good leadership at its best is like a little candle in the middle of a toy boat, in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a storm. And it seems impossible that it's able to survive or that it's able to thrive. And that every person that looks at that candle is like a mirror that's levitated. And with enough mirrors, it looks like the universe. And really good leadership can be able to take on unbelievable challenges. And I look at some of these refugee artists that I've been lucky enough to work with, and I think, if they can figure out how to have inspiration and joy, having lost everything, we better be able to figure out how to be able to bring that inspiration across all the disciplines of every person standing in this room today. And I felt so lucky that after I came back, I was able to give a talk at the UN headquarters. And it harked back to over 7 years earlier. And this is my last story. I know you're looking at me. Okay? And so we're all thinking about Dildar, right? Dildar is in the room with us now. And then I think about another woman named Majida. Okay, Majida al-Habib. And Majida is from Syria. And Majida was bringing vaccinations, working with the Red Cross to rebel-controlled areas all across the country throughout a lot of the war. She ended up being captured by the government and actually put in prison. And she was actually tortured for over 9 months. And she escaped the prison, which is crazy, and she ran across Syria, got into Turkey, ran across Turkey, got on a boat, tried to smuggle herself to Greece, and the boat lit on fire in the middle of the ocean, and it actually sank, and she got rescued by the Coast Guard. She got brought back to Turkey, was in a camp for about, I think about 9 months, and then she got on another boat and actually got to Greece. I met her less than 2 weeks after she got to Samos refugee camp, and this woman, with nothing, not a dollar to her name, living in a tent, started a school by just bringing a group of children together around a tree. Kids from Afghanistan, from Libya, from Yemen, from Syria, from Congo, and they all would get around in a circle and they would sing, and they would play, and they would have joy. They didn't even speak the same languages, Pashtun, Urdu, Farsi, Arabic, French, and they would all come around and they would bring joy. And she had nothing. She did this purely out of the unbelievable inspiration that we look at some of these leaders to have. And these are our greatest sages. And I met her, and this is the end of the story. I met her, and I'm like, this woman is unbelievable. And we started working together, and we built a giant interactive musical sculpture out of trash and recycled materials in the front of the refugee camp. And we got all the kids to come and bang on it, to make songs and dance and somatic learning. And what was amazing, it was a moment I'll never forget, is that it was called Mopsuit, the sound creature. And as the kids are all banging on this creature made out of a dumpster, all of a sudden, about 100 boats showed up from the water, and they were rescued. And all these people start coming into the refugee camp. And what's the first thing they see when they enter the refugee camp? All of these children banging on this goofy giant creature built out of a dumpster, right? And I'll never forget this till the day I die. All of a sudden, this man comes over, dripping in water, huddled in a blanket, and he looks at me and he grabs me, covered in water, and starts kissing me and hugging me. And I'll never forget, he drops to his knees and he said, "This isn't what I thought a refugee camp would look like. This is what freedom looks like." And I remember looking at him and thinking, God, if that's not what leadership should embody, right? Being able to change the way that we see ourselves, the way that we see humanity, be able to see what does integrated mean, that we integrate our soul with pragmatics, that we bring in integrity mixed with implementation. And I think that if we can do this at its best, that's the healing the world needs so badly right now. I think every person knows that right now, that's in this room, knows how difficult the conditions of the world are, the state of the world is today. And if we can galvanize the incredible talent and potential and learn from the communities at the front lines, these can be some of our greatest role models and sages to be able to amplify the messages that are needed now more than ever. And I think the fact that you gave me the opportunity to come and speak here, and that every person here has been able to make a drawing, and if you haven't yet, you will, and that we're going to embody that these women, Majida or Dildar, that they're in the room with us here today. And that if we can do justice for them, then we can do justice for every person that's here today. So I just got to say, it's such an honor to be a part of this incredible community. I appreciate you so much. And I appreciate every person that's here, because you showed up, right? You're the ones who are actually here. And I think that element of showing up every day to what makes the greatest impact, there's no greater gift in the world that we can bring. So it is a joy, it is an honor, and I look forward to all to come. Thank you so much. Oh, and very important, back to the art educator, public artist hat, right? Speaker hat off, now the public artist hat. Every person who hasn't made a drawing, please make a drawing. If you have made a drawing, cut it out, and we're gonna glue it on there, and then we're gonna turn it into a gigantic flying flamingo. But if you haven't made a drawing, make a quick drawing, let out that inner child, let all the stress just kind of come off of you, and then you'll be able to bring this artwork to life. Thank you all so much.
What do we draw? Drawing of what?
Yes. Drawing your ideas of integrated leadership, what that means.
Love it.
Okay.
Very cool. Nice. What is the name of the guy that was at the Golden Door? What? What are you doing? Stop. This one. No, not this one. Remember that I told you there's a guy that stopped me and told me like I would like to thank you for presenting the good model for the people who are just the book of it. No. This way is walking. Yeah, I was just I don't think so.
Okay.
did already, right? You drew already.
I did not.
Then it's your turn because mine is already over there.
So what do you do with it? Throw and then do what?
You put it over there and then
And then what are you supposed to draw?
I don't know. I wasn't here.
I'm a terrible artist.
Are you though?
I am.
I don't think that exists. I think everyone's an artist. It's just a different way of expression. Yeah, there you go. What is it?
I have no idea.
It's your emotion today.
Is it?
I don't know. Something that's coming out of your hand. Like this.
And then what? We draw it and then what? That's it?
Yeah, and then you bring it over there.
Oh, I like this pen.
Yeah, there's a couple of the pens are better and other not so much.
I think this is my favorite pen.
Okay.
Where are you from?
¿Conoces a Philip, no?
Oh, claro que sí. Felix.
Cesar said, Feli is my friend from Switzerland.
Yeah. But then turns out I'm Philip. Do you know Cesar?
César.
An indigenous guy.
And he told her when she comes to Switzerland, text me. Turns out I'm here.
Turns out I bring you to each other.
Whoa. Hello, Brudis. Perfect. You have to produce art, okay? That's the deal.
That's you.
Then you bring it over there to that table. Just have to sign it in the end and say.
I need to sign it?
No, you don't, but I do. There you go.
So somebody will sell it in 500 years for
Yeah.
Remember I told you about
the
bioreasoning expert? That makes sense. Yeah, I have been working for a while bioregion in Colombia.
Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah. I heard from him that you're working on topics. Nice. So try to build a platform how to give more power to local communities to run public goods, public infrastructure. It's not yet defined, but probably community farming. Yeah, no one was also in what's his name? Was a guy in John Murray who was very yeah, exactly. Power. Michel, yeah. Yeah, I was also with him.
But it was so sweet because we were so grateful to say, like how we are building all of our work. So many of us are standing on the research that was done, over all these years. And it was such a sweet moment where he just went like, well, yeah, but you are basically implementing everything that I was just dreaming of, And so when he told us that he was tired and also his health So, and what did I want to say? Oh yeah, that I was just connecting up on the gateway up for us. So, and yeah, and definitely.
What are you doing with that?
Giving it to my friend. She's coming.
Super happy when I found people working on similar concepts. And,
Yeah. Focusing on the technological layer.
Yeah, ¿te sientes mejor?
yeah, a little bit
I need to pee.
involved. I think that the technology layer should
How was your day?
provide
Well, I
this feeling
arrived
that
today from
I mean, I will have
Oh my
like on
God.
one hand it's
I'm tired.
Yes, yes. Freezing. Bogota also gets snow, no? Never? But there are places.
10,000 years ago.
10,000
There
years
was
ago.
like a glaciation all around.
But we were there. You were there.
I'm not that bad for.
yeah. Because the model I was thinking, the ecosystem generates no.
Where is this come from?
Now you want to have the exactly.
The Amazon.
I mean, it depends, you know. I was now
Mexico.
That's what I mean. I'm trying to pull your leg.
And look, the pantera.
La Pantera. You know, I had an ayahuasca experience, and the first thing that happened to me was the Black Panther walking straight into me. And then for the entire journey, he was always like you, standing right behind me and looking over me. It's so good. Very good.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a good
Very
friend.
nice. Very nice.
Now, my last time I was.
No, pero para servirte, ¿qué quieres? Entonces,
Or even like just getting lower.
Let's take a picture for you. I can do, or do you want?
Yeah.
¿tú sabes qué quieres?
Still working on it. You know, I was also with her name Primavera. Yeah. I was with her in a workshop.
Yay!
No, this was actually.
So let me see. I don't remember. Yes.
There we go.
There we go.
Started the foundation like
For you.
Yeah, go through the forest or mountain bike.
What's the name?
Trail foundation. It's more about the trails themselves.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
I'm watching.
Exactly. There was also one approach for the Swiss government where we standardize.
We have all the mics.
Excellent.
Criteria for sustainable trails. So we're doing the world's golden mining regulations and
No, they will not finish here.
so we define the framework that will then be
This is from the fish. Caviar.
this gives them the framework of the nation state, and then
I'll take a picture for my son. My son is a cooker. He needs pictures.
yeah, exactly. It's like a standard. So that's why I was thinking to run that project, and then also in Switzerland forward, because in Switzerland we have so many cantons, so every canton has different laws. Yeah. And every canton has different laws. So it's not based on laws, it's based on unilaterally development in all of them. So I think I have now a good framework for global, and then it's
money, there can be other kind of capital, like social capital, giving you access to people or things like that. Can also work. ¿Me entiendes? Silvana. Okay.
Do you know what's the address for USA house? Because I'm looking it up.
I don't know. I think it's a church.
Church?
Yeah, I think the US house is a church.
Really? And do you know if they're done with the panel or they're going to be more?
They're done.
They're done. So then I'm going to steal the chair. Then I'm going to steal the chair.
Yeah. That's not how it works.
I've just had this idea that you should
Just to put it plainly, we're not funding anyone at the moment. Yeah.
Okay. Good. So then, in that case, let's talk about Flamingo.
Yes.
License to them.
With 1 year.
Yeah. And
Say half a year. Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the craze of the talk at the end? They fund him. Private investment. We will find out. No, I'm going to follow up after the but I can say no, sure, but not now. That's it's fellowship is you get into a club, something like a club, and very often they give you access to other people. You meet new people, and sometimes they also give money. It depends. Sometimes it's with money, sometimes it's only. Sometimes it's with a salary. Sometimes it's only covering like expenses, and sometimes it's no money. Bring together. It can be anything. Yes, in this case it's with money. Bringing together all the parts of it. That's what the aggregation of it.
хочешь, тогда сюда вставай, тут больше места нет.
Just to get
Тебе так неудобно будет ездить.
just at the end of the presentation, it sounded very interesting. So I asked you what you're doing.
Magic.
So basically he told me.
Ну, я не час видела. Ну, час как бы из солнца.
Told me I should do that.
Красивый пиджак.
And now I'm assuming to do it because I feel like both
Я не знаю, что из этого, что я не пробовала.
easier to be funded and what we're doing is so abstract.
Привет, привет. Как дела? А это вот такие же штучки, по-моему. Я не знаю, я не пробовала. Ну, сейчас принесу.
Разберется сейчас.
Вот такие больше не раздают, вот такие еще раздают. Что?
Сергей культурный. Как дела? How are you? How's the weather?
Тебя очень культурные.
Я новый вопрос слушал.
Какой?
What is the latest trends? What the fuck do you mean?
Depends on what you don't know. Хочешь повесить?
By multiple people. What do reporters do? They go out into the world and they unearth new facts on topics that matter to people. The process for unearthing those facts is a rigorous one. How they're sourced, how they're verified. I could go on and on. The Times also has probably journalism's most robust standards operation. How do you reduce or eradicate conflicts of interest? Who gets to work on what kind of story? All
Я
of
очень хотела
that
поговорить с
has
Рейдалью,
been sort
но
of
это было
built up to
невозможно.
ensure a single thing, which is that the public has access to the information it needs to have society function well. And I would say trust begins and ends with understanding what independent journalism is and why it matters in the world.
And I have to say, I mean, I come to this with quite a lot of humility myself. I remember the night before the election of Donald Trump in 2016. It was the 7th of November, I believe, 2016. I was at the embassy, the American embassy in Paris, and I had just finished writing a story about, for the first time in history, 3 women would lead the G7. Because we were all utterly convinced that Hillary would win. And I remember sitting at that table at the American embassy, and there were 8 sort of Republican diplomats and CEOs around the table. And I asked them all, you know, have any of you voted for Donald Trump? All 8 of them said yes. And I was completely shocked. And I remember calling Michael Slackman that night, and I said, Michael, I'm not sure that story is going to see the light of day. And he said, don't worry, Katrin, don't worry. And then we all woke up to a different world. So, Meredith, before I come to you, Andrew, but maybe just one quick follow-up. The Times has changed things and processes in response to what I think is fair to say. It humbled us that we didn't read the country at the time. We have changed certain things, and I think it's worth, like, sort of telling the world how.
I think the work of, I love that you use the word humble. I'm going to use it differently. I think the work of independent journalism has humility wired in. It says, I'm going to enter this topic. I'm going to follow this lead with a posture of searching, not one of knowing. And I think many things get better and better at the New York Times over time, too, that I'll point out in the last decade and through 2 more presidential elections. We have far more reporters now reporting from across the whole of the United States. So living in communities, talking to more and different kinds of people than we had, I think, in 2016. And I also want to say we have hardwired the process I described to you before of what does it mean to do journalism with independence in mind at every step, to go at it if you're a reporter with an empty notebook on every story. How do we raise that fundamental level of curiosity and searching in every way? And I would just say, just like in any business or culture, having a really intentional roadmap for doing that, I think, helps people do that at real scale, and I think you see that in the work.
One of my favorite quotes about journalism is A.J. Liebling, who actually once said, you know, that the role of a good journalist is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So I'm about to do that, Andre. You are the co-chair of the WEF, as I said, along with Larry Fink, and I hope you don't mind me repeating the fact that both of you are billionaires. It's a sort of a subject right now because, you know, as you probably know, the number of billionaires has exploded in recent decades. I actually wrote my column for the newsletter about this tomorrow. You can all read it. And I was quite stunned by the numbers. You know, Forbes